What's going on, everybody? The Chicago Cubs are in Kansas City this weekend, facing off against the Royals in a three-game set. They do take game one of that. We'll have coverage of that, especially seeing Kevin Gausman for the first time. Gauss did a great job in that game. However, we got to talk about it. The elephant in the room, Ian Happ, and how his inability to hit could still eventually end up hurting this team. We got to talk about it, and then some, right after this. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. I'm your host, Mike Jones. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate you guys so much. Hey, listen, do me a solid. If you like this content, please make sure that you like this episode. Also, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If this is your first time watching, hey, welcome. Also, make sure that you share this content with all your Cub fans, friends, and everything like that. Let them know that Chicago Cubs Central is your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. All right, so a couple things. First and foremost, Chicago Cubs do go ahead and take care of business, and every single time the Cubs take care of business, you know we got to fly that W flag, baby. That's right. The Chicago Cubs are rolling, like I said, and looking to power right over the Kansas City Royals this weekend. Very, very successful in game one of doing that. It looked kind of bleak up there at first after the Royals did score the first run of the game in Friday night's game. However, the Chicago Cubs then turned the page and put up a 4 spot in one inning, led by none other than Pedro Armstrong, who were able to drive in 2 runs on a single. So listen, like I said, man, the Chicago Cubs are rolling. You also get a home run from Pedro Ramirez. We'll talk about him in a minute. Like I said, the Chicago Cubs just offensively are finding different ways to win. Love what Kevin Gausman gave you tonight. Like I said, it was a pitch to Jim. He just pitched a really good game. 7 strong innings for him. He had this to say after the game. He was like, yeah, you just notice it right away. This Chicago Cubs defense is something different. It's really special. Guys are laying out, putting their bodies all on the line for you and making sure that, that runs are prevented however it's possible. And I just really appreciate and come to respect this organization and their ability to prevent runs. So yeah, man, like I said, this defense is something different, and the pitchers that have been traded away from these bad teams like the Mets and like Toronto are seeing now what it's like to have virtually a all-world Gold Glove defense behind you, where pretty much if anything gets in the ground, if anything goes into the air, then you pretty much still have a good chance of getting it out there. And if you don't have a good chance of getting it out there, they still somewhere down the line will prevent a run. We've seen it all week long from Ian Happ, from Seiya Suzuki, of course, from PCA. Of course, you've seen it from Alex Bregman. Of course, you've seen it from Dansby Swanson. Of course, you've seen it from Michael Busch. You've even seen it from Pedro Ramirez, man. He has been a bright spot, which we'll talk about him in a second. But yeah, man, the Chicago Cubs do go ahead and take care of business, take that game from Kansas City. I'm looking for a sweep this series. You need a sweep this series, especially since the Milwaukee Brewers just lost to the Minnesota Twins, also putting you now 4.5 games back in for the division. Y'all, it's about to get serious. It's about to get serious. If Milwaukee is starting to break down or starting to show chinks in the armor, the Chicago Cubs will pounce on that because they're playing confident baseball right now. And if the Chicago Cubs can overtake them and win the Central Division, that's going to be huge. That's a huge feather in the cap of one Craig Counsell. That's an even bigger feather in the cap of Jed Hoyer, who went out and made the executive trades needed in order for this team to compete and to do something like that. So my thought process is, listen, by any means necessary, the Chicago Cubs must keep winning, must keep piling on these victories, and we must catch up to the Brewers and eventually, hopefully, overtake the Brewers. That is the goal here. That's what we are seeking to do. So With that being said, there are many people that come into mind when you start talking about being successful, like and doing things like winning the division and having success in the postseason. And sometimes it comes from places that you just don't expect it to. And one of those places, guys, is none other than Pedro Ramirez. Pedro Ramirez has been the unsung hero of the Chicago Cubs, or at least one of the unsung heroes. I also think Jacob Webb is another one. Jacob Webb is another guy we will have to spotlight in the episode because he has been balling. But I wanted to spotlight it to show some love, especially after hitting a homer tonight against the Kansas City Royals. Pedro Ramirez, man, just has been a bright, shining spot for this Chicago Cubs team. He has the slash numbers of 347, 418, and 449 with the 867 OPS and a 142 WRC plus. Basically, he is somebody that has come in and filled in admirably right where Matt Shaw left off. Matt Shaw got injured for the Chicago Cubs, and the Chicago Cubs then decided to give Pedro Ramirez a shot. And I thought originally, guys, they brought Pedro Ramirez up and was giving him all this playing time. They were going to trade him. I thought they were going to use him as trade bait. I expected Matt Shaw back by now. Matt Shaw's still not healthy, and he's still having wrist issues. He may I don't think he opted for surgery, but he may need to opt for surgery and count this season out. And like I said, and then hopefully be able to go have his surgery and be ready to go in 2027 once the lockout season, shortened season is over, because we probably going to need him in left field, which we'll talk about that in a minute too. But again, like I said, Pedro Ramirez has just been a joy to watch. Being able to get Dansby Swanson off his feet, being able to get Nico Horner off his feet, being able to give Alex Bregman off his feet. He is just one of those guys that has come in and basically almost played every single day, because you could put him at third base, or you could DH him, or you could put him at second base, or you could put him at shortstop. And he is just a weapon right now for Craig Counsell. He's an on-base machine, as you can see by his on-base percentage, being his OPS being 867. So he's just somebody that has been a real weapon for this Chicago Cubs team, and somebody that I've enjoyed watching. I really enjoy watching. He's a young player. We've often bemoaned the fact that the Chicago Cubs went out and signed somebody like Alex Bregman, who's older, signed somebody like a Dansby Swanson, who's older, and not allowing these younger players to shine through. Well, there's opportunity to play. There is opportunity to play, and clearly, like I said, we are playing our guys, because Pedro Ramirez has been showing up and showing out for the Chicago Cubs, and Craig Counsell gives him opportunity every day to do so. And he has taken that and ran with it. And kudos to him for doing so, because that's what you're supposed to do with opportunity. You're supposed to go when opportunity knocks, you go kick that door down, and you make the most of it. And Pedro Ramirez has made the most of every single AB, the most of every opportunity. And again, this dude has been on a tear. In tonight's game, he crushed his second home run of the season, 100 miles per hour, over 363 feet, over to right field. And like I said, it was on a 93 mile per hour four seam fastball that he did that. So through 109 major league at bats, he has a 300 average, 800 OPS. Again, like I said, it's a good problem to have, but he's gonna make it tough once Matt Shaw comes back. I foresee Matt Shaw being the platoon guy in the outfield, and I foresee Pedro being the platoon guy for the infield. Like I said, I just think that's gonna work. I think that's gonna work for the Chicago Cubs, and he is again somebody that is just, like I said, it just so good and been so good for the Chicago Cubs. And it's very, 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 very refreshing to see a young player get talent like that, and you be able to use his talent like that, and be able to um just grow and mature on this team. And it's a team that has expectations. I liken him to almost like a Wilson Contreras being called up and playing for the Chicago Cubs during 2016, where the expectation is a World Series. I mean, like I said, it was great it's great for him. It was a great experience for Wilson Contreras to be a part of that team, and it'll be the same for Pedro Ramirez. However far the Chicago Cubs end up going in this one, but yeah, man, that's my thoughts on Pedro. Make sure you guys comment below your thoughts on Pedro. One question that I did have for you, and I posed this question on X. Does the emergence of Pedro Ramirez make Matt Shaw expendable? Does Matt Shaw now become expendable because of the experience you have and with Pedro Ramirez and the way that he's been playing and slash numbers and his numbers and how he's not afraid of the moment, how he comes up there cool, calm, and collected, and he hits the ball or he'll take a walk. You know, he does strike out a little bit, but like I said, more than likely he's going to end up on base one way or another, and it's clear by his numbers. Speaking of numbers, there's somebody else we have to talk about, and it's the big elephant in the room. It was the thumbnail. It was everything that we have to talk about, everything that I don't want to have to talk about, and that is none other than Ian Happ. Ian Happ since June 20th versus right-hand pitchers has a slash line of 192, 317, 308. And out of 123 plate appearances, he has 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, 36 strikeouts. Versus left-handed pitchers, Ian Happ has horrendous. This is why we have Tyrone Taylor now. His last slash line is 114, 143, 205. And 39 plate appearances. He has 0 home runs, 2 RBIs, 15 strikeouts. Ian Happ, y'all, is not struggling. He is struck. It is to the point where it's just like, Jed, how much longer can you justify having him on this team? Craig, how much longer can you justify having him play every day? You may end up, I mean, you've already decided that when the Chicago Cubs go up against lefties, Tyrone Taylor gets to start. And now it's to the point where Ian Happ may not be able to even play every day. He may end up having to be moved to the bench and given that time over to Tyrone Taylor. Now, I don't think Craig Counsell has the balls to do that, to bench him like that for Tyrone Taylor full scale. But it's bad, man. It's freaking bad right now. Ian Happ, I've seen some slumps from this guy in my time watching him, but I've never seen him slump this bad. This is since June. Guys, it's August 8th. These numbers are since June. It's August 8th. That's July. That's the full month of July, and that's almost a week into. You're into the second week now of August. And like I said, you've seen Dansby hit himself out of his slump. You've seen Alex Bregman hit himself out of his slump. You've seen other guys come through. Carson Kelly figure it out. Michael Busch is starting to do a little bit better. Seiya Suzuki is, like I said, still a great hitter. But you wonder, like, man, when is Ian Happ going to get his shit together? Because, boy, is he stinking. Bad. I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Them offering him another contract is very, very much looking like it's not going to happen. As much as I want to believe the Chicago Cubs would do the solid of honoring him by saying, you were a longtime Chicago Cub, you were a captain and leader on this team, let's at least offer you something. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Not with numbers like this. This dude's supposed to be a switch hitter, y'all. And he can't hit either side. Like, it's terrible to watch. Terrible to watch. I mean, we look at what J-Mo did for the Chicago Cubs in the time he was here in his service here, and we appreciate it. They even honored J-Mo when Toronto came back to Wrigley on Thursday, in that thriller of a game. But they also said, you got to get the hell off this team because we have expectations. When is the right time for Craig Counsell to pull the plug on Ian Happ? Again, you do still have Gold Glove defense out there, and that is important. But left field is also one of the easier outfield positions to play. So in my eyes, I look at that and I say, like, can Tyrone Taylor be serviceable out there? Can Michael Conforto maybe go over there and play some left field for you? I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. But the struggle is real, real for Ian Happ, man. And I just don't know what the Chicago Cubs are going to do at this point because it's bad, man. It's bad. It's damn near unwatchable. But listen, man, that's my time for this episode. Comment below, guys, your thoughts. Ian Happ struggles. Sound off, guys, below. Let me know your thoughts on Ian Happ struggles. And what would you do? Would you play Tyrone Taylor? Would you play Michael Conforto? Are you benching Ian Happ? Are you DFAing Ian Happ? What would you do with him? And then also, like I said, the Chicago Cubs have a good problem in Pedro Ramirez and how he's played, and also Matt Shaw. What would you do between those two? And then last but not least, like I said, make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe so that you never miss an episode of Chicago Cubs Central. Remember, this is your number one spot for all things Chicago.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the number one spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.